What is up, everybody? Welcome to Half-Ass Pod. It's your boy Corn. And, ladies and gentlemen, we have the return of the one and the only Smith. Smith, say what's up to the people, man.
Howdy. What's going on, people? Are we
Smith,
actually live right now?
yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's good to have you back, man. It really is. It's good to have you back. Mark, say what's up to the people, man.
Hello, people. Are you ready to rumble?
And Mark, of course, that always has the Funko Pops in the back. Again, I appreciate that because it's marvelous to look at, and I'm very jealous that you have such a large collection of Funko Pops, man. But
Over
ladies and
10
gentlemen,
years in the
without further-
making.
yes, yes. Without further ado, I'm going to give you guys this intro. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So today we come to you all talking about a movie that I promised everyone we would talk about when I found out that this was Mark's and Smith's favorite MCU movie. Am I saying that right?
No. My favorite
Yeah.
Thor movie.
Okay, your favorite Thor movie. Smith, your favorite MCU movie, right?
Definitely.
Okay. And as I've grown this hate and continue to be so public with my hate of Thor Ragnarok, more people that I know have come out and in defense of Thor Ragnarok, saying that it's their favorite Thor movie and their favorite fucking MCU movie. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Tonight I'm going to slay the fuck out of this movie. So, but it's not about me slaying the fuck out of this movie as much as it is about you guys sharing your love for this film. And so, Smith, I want to start out with you. First of all, what was your first thought after finishing watching this movie when you just watched it recently?
So my most recent viewing of it, first thought I had was, wow, it's still a great film and Corn's wrong.
Oh, my God.
I did notice a few things, though, upon rewatching it. Like, he's the god of thunder and everything, but he gets taken down by a neck taser. That doesn't really make sense. But, outside of that, I can look past that suspended disbelief.
All right. Mark, what about you? What was your first thought after watching this movie the other day?
Well, I was trying to look for something that might be wrong. And so I still don't get it, Corn. I still don't get it. As far as like neck tasers and stuff, I don't know. Hey, I can't argue about technical shit. I can barely put together a green screen. So how the fuck, am I going to argue that shit? So, and, like I said, as far as like characters and man, I mean, Taika Waititi, he's got his humor in this, but the mixture of the humor and what's at stake and the character development and the theme of the film and everything. I mean, as far as like mainstream films go, big budget films, this has got a lot. This has got thoughtfulness. This has got, there's intelligence behind the humor, and there's just the artistry alone, the Kirby-esque backgrounds, the settings, the car, just the colors in it. It looks like old 60s, 70s comic books, things like that. Introduction of a new character like Korg. I love Korg. What a great guy, and Taika Waititi plays him. That's just fucking great. Hella scary, Surtur scary. Just I love it.
Okay. First off, Taika Waititi. I'm not going to say anything bad about Taika Waititi in regards of, because I love Jojo Rabbit. I love that movie. But god damn did he fucking butcher Thor. Now, should I start off with the very beginning of this movie where we get Surtur? Now, Mark, you literally just said Surtur was scary, right?
Mm-hmm.
How the hell was Surtur scary when he's sitting there, very beginning of the movie? Yeah, maybe the first shot you're thinking, oh, wow, Surtur. But for movie fans that don't know who Surtur is and what Surtur means to Thor in the comics, they would think that Surtur is some jobber villain. They would think that Surtur is some nobody that came and said, I'm here to destroy Asgard, blah, blah, whatever. But they're thinking, because the way that Thor reacts to Surtur in the first 30 seconds of this movie shows you Surtur's not shit. Surtur can't do anything.
No,
Surtur is meaningless. And I'm thinking to myself, like, how does that make sense? How does that make sense to you? Now again,
what needs to make sense?
I know we shouldn't compare comics with the movies. So I can't make that my argument, saying that, oh, you're taking the Joker of Thor, you're taking, what is it, Thor's Joker or Surtur's Joker to Thor's Batman, right? Is that how you say it? How you make the comparison? But that's pretty much what it is. It's like his arch enemy, right? So how are you? Again, I'm not even going to make that argument, because again, it's the movie, not the comics. Okay, but in the first minute of this movie, Surtur is telling you who he is. He's telling you pretty much, he's giving you the whole backstory of who he is, why he's there, why he wants to destroy Asgard. Correct. But in doing so, again, we're going back to Thor and this pointless fucking comedy that Taika Waititi tried to do for this movie. And to me, it didn't work. To the vast majority of people, it worked for you guys, right? You guys loved it. You guys ate it up. To me, go back to the first two Thor movies. Were they really that happy and campy? Were they really so filled with fucking comedy? No. It was a bit dark. At least the second one was dark. No pun intended, being called Dark World. But it was darker, right? But then you go to Ragnarok, and now all of a sudden Thor's this happy-go-lucky, jumpy guy. His best friend is a pile of rocks. Like, bro, what the fuck is going on? Now, to me, the best part of this movie, actually, to me, I have two somewhat favorites. If I had to pick two favorite parts of this movie, and I'll pick these two. When we first get introduced to Hela, and she's walking, and mind you, by the way, Cate Blanchett looks hot as fuck as Hela, without all the, rainy shit. But, dude, when she showed up and had the hair coming down, she looked like a fucking badass. And then Thor throwing the hammer at her, she catches it with one hand, crushes that shit. Bro, that shit was awesome. When I first saw it in the movie theaters, I was like, oh, fuck. Watched it again last night. I'm like, okay, you know what? This movie may not be as bad as I thought it was. Wrong. Because that's the only good part that we saw Hela. That was the only good part Hela had of the entire movie. Now, I'll go over to my second favorite part of the movie. The Incredible Hulk. Look, as much as I shit on, I can't even think of the fucking actor's name right now, Mark Ruffalo's Hulk. As much as I shit on him, because the MCU has shat on the Incredible Hulk. Let's not get it twisted. But this movie was probably the best movie they had him be the Hulk in, because we didn't get smart genius Professor Hulk. We didn't get Mark Ruffalo the whole fucking movie either. We got the Incredible Hulk when the Incredible Hulk was actually Incredible Hulk. The guy was what do they call him? The Grand Master, right? Was Jeff Goldblum's character?
Mm-hmm.
Grand Master, which again, terrible fucking character. Terrible fucking character. What a waste to put Jeff Goldblum in that fucking whatever. Anyways, but the Incredible Hulk, is the Grandmaster's champion. I'm thinking like, yes, this is so cool. They're making Hulk again, But again, they have to find a way to fuck it up. Halfway through the fucking movie. Now we get Mark Ruffalo for the rest of the fucking movie. Until the end in that last fight scene, and we'll get to that as well. I'm just airing my grievances right now with this fucking movie, because there's a lot. But this movie is way too, again, I'm all for the comedy. The first Thor had the right amount of comedy. Thor: Dark World had the right amount of comedy, and for everybody that says that those two movies were not that good and they were a snore fest, Mark, I'm sure you're one of them. We talked about that before. Fine, we'll go over to Ant-Man. Ant-Man had the right amount of comedy. The first Ant-Man, not the second one. The first Ant-Man had the right amount of comedy and the right amount of action. The right amount of superhero shit. But then we get to this movie. Where's the seriousness at all? Thor's dad, Odin. He dies. There's barely any fucking sad music that plays. Then he immediately blames Loki. And before Odin even fucking dies, they show up to Earth and it's like, oh, I left him here, and it was the nursing home, and it was like, okay, that's clever, but like, come on, we're talking about Odin from Asgard, one of the most powerful people. Like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like, what the fuck kind of movie are we making here, Marvel? Now, again, I have more to say, but I want to toss it over to you, Smith. I want to know. I really want to know, what were some of the great parts of this movie that made you so attached to this movie to say that, hey, this is my favorite, not just my favorite Thor movie, but my favorite MCU movie. I want to know, Smith.
Well, it's my favorite in the sense that it's tied with the first Guardians of the Galaxy. But yeah, everything that Mark said about the aesthetics with Sigurd, or however you say the planet's name, I wish the whole movie was just about that. I didn't need to see Asgard at all. Like, especially one of the best scenes is Hulk and Thor in the the red and white room, and they're arguing. Hulk is like obviously a giant child.
Yeah.
Yeah. But to get to that final fight scene, one of the best jokes in that movie is when Hulk, he goes to hit the giant flame-headed dude. What was his name again?
Surtur.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not really up to date on my Thor lore. Didn't read the comics. I just like this movie. But yeah, it's just a good movie, and it's lighthearted too. I don't watch superhero movies every time I need like the whole Batman trilogy feel,
And again, but here's the thing, Smith. This movie, and again, I'm not trying to convince you guys to like the movie right now. I'm just airing my points or whatever. But this movie, if you look at the storyline, what exactly is it telling? What exactly, like, at the end, yes, they defeat Hela. Yes, they use Surtur to destroy but what is the message of this movie? Now, I do like, and I'm very interested to hear that, Mark, too, by the way. So I'm about to ask you.
Tell you that.
But I will say I like the way they introduce Valkyrie, because when you're first introduced to Valkyrie, at least when you initially watched the movie, as I did in the theaters, and I saw that Valkyrie, she's this crazy drunk, but she's kind of like a low key badass a little bit. I got it, but then as the movie kept going on, I'm like, okay, so what's she actually useful for? Okay, yeah, she's not special. Okay, cool. All right, cool, awesome. Now they tell us that she's special, but I'm still. It's been years, and I'm still waiting for us to see why is she so special? What can she do? Why is she made the new leader of fucking New Asgard? Which again, that's not part of this movie, but still, I just want to know. But before I get to that, Mark, I want to know from you, what was this? What message? What was the theme? Because you mentioned theme earlier too. I forgot that.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned theme earlier. What was the theme of this movie? Because I, for the love of God, cannot tell you.
Well, it's pretty easy, actually. All right. When you think, okay, when you're trying to determine the theme of a story, doesn't matter what medium is on, story. And a theme is usually described, and I would say, in a sentence or less, best, so one word. And I would say this film is about a redemption. So, but because when we have, everything's set up at the beginning. Well, of course, it's not about Surtur's redemption, but Surtur in the beginning, he wasn't anything much. why the hell is Thor in a cage talking to a skeleton? Valkyrie comes out of her spaceship and falls into the junkyard. And then, what you may not have noticed, Scourge. He's who plays him? That is Hugh. Wait, what the hell's his name again? Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, oh yeah, Carl Urban. So he's Scourge, the guy who's watching.
The executioner.
Yeah. And and then also we have Heimdall. He's not on his post. Odin's turns out to be Loki. So all this setup is going on right there. And the humor is just sort of like, oh wow, it's reduced to this, where everything looks a little bit silly. So Thor has become a bit silly. But I look back at the first two movies and it's like, well, he was kind of silly in those movies and they were trying to be silly. He was like, I don't know. In the first one with him and Jane, that was like bordering on like, I don't know, Star Wars episodes 1 and 2, like Anakin fucking Padme shit. I'm not saying it was a lot like it, but it was getting there. And so, and I almost imagine Taika Waititi just being like, yeah, Asgard, Thor, Norse gods in, the contemporary world, 21st century Earth. It's all kind of absurd. There's supposed to be people with this advanced technology that's so advanced to us that it looks like magic. So it's kind of like, well, what the hell's going on there? They even have Doctor Strange in there, right? He's magic, so they interact with him. But yeah, but I think when it comes down to it, it comes down to even more than Thor. Thor, he's, he was mourning Loki. Loki humiliated him once again. How many times can you repeat the same thing and expect different results? Valkyrie was a fallen Valkyrie. She lost her army, and then just went off and became a drunk. And then Scourge. He was being a jackass in the beginning. He's showing those women his guns that he got from Texas, and all of this stuff. And then we got to see each character slowly, sort of change into something new. There was something going on there where, because like what was at stake for Thor? It's like he was looking at becoming the king of Asgard. After all, his Odin dies in the film, and what's going to fill that vacuum? Of course, maybe Hela, right? That's what the conflict of the whole movie is. But but then and then the way the whole film turns out in the end, it's kind of postmodern in the sense of all this idea that we have some sort of objective meaning in Asgard, as if it's some sort of substantial place. Well, not so much. It's kind of corny, but this is a hundreds of millions of dollar budget mainstream film, right? They are trying to appeal to a wide audience. So you get kind of a redemption, and then you get kind of a home is where the heart is, because, they end the film kind of moving off like, what now? We have kind of, we defeated Hela, but our home's been destroyed. What are we going to, what's next? What's next for King of the Asgard, if he's even going to be that? So I'll just leave it at that for now.
All right. So I get where you're coming from, and I get what you're saying. And yeah, it does open my eyes up a little bit. It doesn't change my opinion, but it does open up my eyes up a little bit. And I kind of see that. I want to get to Hela. And then I'll go from Hela right into Loki. And I'll kill two birds with one stone with that one, with them two. Hela, like I said, she started out great. Because again, for us to get to that point in the MCU, to follow through the MCU, you got to keep, and I'm not saying you got to make your villains like Thanos level or anything like that, but you got to keep making your villains believable. You got to keep making your villains look like villains. Like, there's a reason why I'm not that excited, and I probably should be excited that Christian Bale is playing Gord the God Butcher in Thor Love and Thunder. But with the shit that they gave us with Hela, and the quick turnaround from her being this serious character to now being every single scene she's in, there's a joke. Oh wow, she's making another joke. Can't really take her serious because she kills an army of people, and here goes another joke. And then you got the execution, and then you got Carl Urban's character becoming the executioner. That was whatever. I still disagree that they even should have did that shit. I'm like, if you make anybody the fucking executioner, you should have made one of the people a part of Thor's, group that they killed there. But whatever, cool. Every single scene she's in, even till her death, another joke. Joke. Then in the end, your main character Thor can't even kill Hela. You got to get Surtur, somewhat got to get Surtur in a way to help, right? I want to know, how do you guys feel about that? How do you guys? I mean, Smith, you probably don't care, but just asking both of you guys.
Oh, give him a chance.
I know. I said probably. But how do you guys feel about the fact that Thor couldn't even kill Hela by himself? So, Smith, I'll ask you first.
I thought it was pretty clever. And, it's sort of like when you're watching a superhero movie, you expect your hero to be able to beat whoever. I mean, Spider-Man is never not going to beat Green Goblin. But here, he obviously can't do it. And then you're like, oh, how are they going to do it? A little bit of suspense. And I think it's a good way to make that happen. Because I didn't see it coming when I initially watched the film.
Me either, honestly. Which that's why. And again, we shouldn't. I know we shouldn't expect certain things to happen in a film, and I'm getting better at that. Am I not, Mark? Especially when we got Falcon and Winter Soldier after WandaVision, I got better with taking my expectations and putting them aside for a bit, at least certain expectations. But with this, it's like, man, I expected Thor, and I'm not saying he should have beat Hela all by himself. Oh, I'm Thor, I'm this and I'm that. But something where Thor, you got Thor, Loki. You mean to tell me Thor, Loki, and this new character that you guys just introduced in your movie can't even, that we're told is supposed to be special, can't even kill Hela with just the three of them? And maybe technically Hulk, if you want to count that, but he was too busy fighting a dog underwater for that to even fucking make any fucking sense. But anyways, Mark, what about you? What did you think?
All right. Well, I think what Hela really brought to the film was, because not only is there sort of a redemption for these three characters that I emphasize, but there's also redemption for Asgard, right? I think that there's an allegory going on in the sense that, it's a commentary on conquest, nations, in this case, a planet, the nations that, conquest, and then, they start to change their history and paint, a pretty past. And Asgard had, if Thor's, if what Thor said in the beginning is true and not just hyperbole, they had about 500,000 years to recreate that story and everything. And when she came back, nobody knew who she was. So I think that was commentary on, Asgard, being, and I think the purpose that Scourge serves as well. I mean, he's, I don't know, aside from the pantheon of gods, right? There's other people in Asgard. They seem to be exceptional, but, by comparison, they're the common people. And I think Scourge served as kind of a placeholder for all the common people, because I think ultimately this movie was about Asgard, because it was redemption of these characters, and then ultimately, and not necessarily redemption for Asgard itself, because Asgard falls, but it brings up that question about, what happens when the winner, the winners write the history and things like that. And right now we're in times where we're questioning that. We're looking into things like that, like, with the United States. Hey, we got this big, rich country. What do we do? How can we keep going with the history of slavery, the history of genocide, all of these things? And so, and we get that revelation when Hela cracks open the ceiling and everything comes down. So I think this film makes a statement because, it was like Asgard fell. And then Thor, he came up with an idea. So it wasn't force once again. It wasn't just another conquest. It took some planning. It took some thought. It wasn't super clever, but it was just interesting. Like, oh man, I got to go back and revive that guy that I just killed that I thought solved all the problems. Bam. So, and then it comes, and then you could, if I wanted to be really critical, say that Surtur was almost Deus Ex Machina, but either way, I think it was the Deus Ex Machina aspect can be kind of overlooked, but that's where I stand on that. Yeah.
I've never played Deus Ex, so you're gonna have to kind of explain that one to me a little bit.
Oh, Deus Ex Machina it goes back to Greece in Greek theater, where there would be a play and a conflict, and then at a point where it appears that the hero, in the big fight at the end or whatever, is about to either like be defeated or something. One of the gods comes in and saves. So Deus being God, the Deus Ex Machina, the God out of the machine. So it was kind of like that because Thor himself didn't directly defeat Hela, and but they revived Surtur, and then what do you know? I mean, Surtur, he was a giant or something like. But I mean, in effect, he was a god, So yeah, you could argue that that's something of Deus Ex Machina, but I mean that's a super old trope. But I mean, after all, especially in the postmodern age, we're all about what do we do to subvert these tropes? What do we do? Because these sort of things, Smith himself said episodes ago that there's only about 7 or so stories that everybody can really tell. What do we do with them? How do we make them different?
So, by the way, this tells you how big of an idiot I am. When you mentioned the Deus Exes or Deus Ex,
Deus Ex Machina,
I was thinking of the game Deus Ex.
Well, that's where I got it from.
I very briefly played the first one when I was younger, and that was it. I never played the games. So I thought you were talking about the game Deus Ex. That's why I was like, maybe I should play that game again. But yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, Mark. I wanna move over from Hela to Loki. The question I have with Loki, it is, hold on. Terry Wirtz, Terry the neighbor, shout out, man. What's up? Make sure you hit that like, subscribe. Thank you for coming through and joining the show, bro. And shout out to Yoo-hoo. I think they're trying to say Yoo-hoo. Mark, you're better than I am at pronouncing.
It's I don't, no disrespect there, but yeah. But either Yao Hao or I don't know. I'm not making fun of it.
Yao Hao. But thank you for coming through. Yao Hao says you have to admit Hela should have her own. No, Hela should not have her own movie. Oh my God. See, what the fuck?
I thought this was it.
Oh my God. Hela should not have her own movie. Absolutely not. And I'm tired of this whole narrative of, because people were saying that for WandaVision and Falcon too. Like people were saying, for WandaVision, people were saying that they wish that who's Kat Dennings' character again? What's her name? The general,
Agatha.
No. Kat Dennings, the chick with the big tits, the one with the glasses, with the journalistic chick, the one she was in Thor, the first two Thors.
Yeah, the one from the second Thor.
Darcy.
Yeah.
Her and people were saying that her and God damn it, I forget the other guy's name. Something Parker, right? But the Korean guy, the Korean agent. People were saying that those two should have a buddy. Yeah, people were saying that those two should have their own show. And I'm like, no, they shouldn't.
Well, if you're a Randall Park fan, there's Straight Off the Boat, or great show, funny sitcom.
And yeah, I mean, he was good in Ant-Man too. But yeah, they shouldn't have their own show. Like, I'm tired of people saying all these side characters should have their own show or their own movie and blah blah. Like, no, dude, let's keep the characters where they are. We don't want to oversaturate. They're already doing that with the genre alone right now. We don't need more of these side characters having their own shit. because then it gets convoluted and nobody knows what the fuck is going on and what means what. So look, again, thank you for commenting. Cool, but yeah, Hela, I disagree. Hela should not have her own movie. What do you think, Smith?
I mean, I would watch it. I don't know if they should make it necessarily, but she was a little underdeveloped in the film. I think they could have done like 5 more minutes with her, and yeah, maybe not a whole movie though.
She didn't even have an iconic experience, like an iconic like scene or anything after catching Thor's hammer, crushing it with one hand, and everybody's like, and then after that, it's just like, what now? You know what I mean? Maybe they did that too early. I don't know. I thought, at least for storyline purposes, I thought it was perfectly placed. I thought that scene and Thor having to go throughout this movie without his hammer, perfectly placed. But yeah, again, shout out to Yuhu. Hopefully I'm not butchering your name, but if I am, you should already know it's probably hard to. I'm not the only person that mispronounced your name, so I just want to say thank you for coming through and show support for the channel as well. So make sure you hit that like and make sure you subscribe as well. But yes, so moving on to Loki, I want to ask you guys, why the fuck was Loki here? Why was Loki in this movie? Because I want to ask you guys as well. After Odin's death, what was the purpose for Loki? What was the purpose to have him in this movie? And again, this Taika Waititi being Taika Waititi, I get it. But the thing that Taika Waititi has done, at least with this movie, and I hope he doesn't do it with Thor: Love and Thunder, where he keeps these key characters in the spotlight for too long. Now, I hope he doesn't do that with Guardians of the Galaxy when they show up in Thor: Love and Thunder, but he did it here with Loki. Loki's alive. And Mark, you know, I've talked about this for the past couple months. I've been going on my rants about Loki and the whole like MCU fake death universe and all this bullshit, right? And we're saying this, what, 2 weeks before the Loki show comes out? But I seriously want to know, like, after he meets Thor on that planet, I keep forgetting the name of the planet. After he meets Thor on that planet again, after like what, 20, 30 minutes, Loki's just being Loki again. And you know, I will say this, the one scene that I did like Loki in was when obviously it was that battle scene, right, where Thor's battling Hulk, and then Loki he sees Hulk is like the champion, the Grandmaster's champion. I did like that part where he's pretty much scared of Hulk again, and that part was actually pretty clever. I like that. I like the fact that he did that. But yeah, I found no use for Loki in this movie.
Well, he did have one use.
You say that again,
Towards the end, this is how you see him get the Tesseract again. So that's the one thing that I can think of. Other than that, I guess you kind of have a point.
But you didn't have to put him in the movie for that. You know what I mean? That could have been a post-credit. That very easily could have been a post-credit scene. Very easily could have been a post-credit scene. Mark, I want to know your thoughts on Loki in this movie and Loki's presence in this movie. Was it necessary to put Loki in this movie? Did he necessarily have to be in this movie?
Well, I think when you watch it, you know, without, you know, because now that we have what appears to have been Loki's destiny, right? Where Loki, you know, died in which one was it? Infinity War or was it Endgame? I can't remember which. He died in the last 2 Avengers movies, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And I believe it was Infinity War. All right.
Yeah.
And I think that was his final appearance, you know, his only appearance between this film and that. Am I right?
Yeah, because this one came out before Infinity War, yeah. So
okay,
this is still going off of his death in Thor: Dark World.
Yeah, and they well, you know, and now we know that there's this, you know, sort of, you know, I mean, right now I'm thinking prequel, right? Because it was, you know, it looks like it starts somewhere in the storyline, you know, before the end of phase 3, and so it is. Yeah, you're right. There's not much to it, but if I were to defend Loki's presence in this film, I would say that in some way, you know, Loki is Thor's archenemy, and you know it's because of the complicated relationship, right? They're brothers, they grew up together, and Loki just is Loki over and over again to him, you know, and Thor, you know, has the bigger heart, you know, he always, you know, and Loki's always his foil. So I don't think that Loki was necessary for the overall plot, but it was kind of you know, a continuation of the arc that of the overarching arc between Loki and Thor. So and then let's face it, I mean, I don't know, I think Taika Waititi did some good things, because you know it's like Loki, you know, it's like what a fun character to use, I think. So yeah, you know, where, you know, like, why don't you have a chair? Just all that banter between them and him throwing rocks at Loki, and you know, just all that other crazy stuff. So yeah, but I think ultimately to the overall plot of this particular film, yeah, not strikingly important. But I you know, but honestly, I just think Thor without Loki yeah, at all would, I don't know. That's you know, at least at this point in phase 3, you know, especially in the Zone movie. Yeah, well, that would suck. Now, I'm probably with you on coming into phase 4, Thor: Love and Thunder. They could justifiably not have Loki in that film. They could just end that. But you know, we don't know what's going to happen in this series that's coming up. So yeah, but I mean, that's about it. So I don't know. I think we're a little bit on the same page, but you could think different there.
Well, I mean, the reason why I say this is because I don't want the same thing to happen in Thor: Love and Thunder. Like, I want to be able to see a Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, I'm never going to see Guardians of the Galaxy for longer than 30 seconds, obviously, because they're still on a journey together. So I'm pretty sure this is ending that journey between the Guardians and Thor, which obviously should happen anyways, right? It's a Thor movie. And, you know, we're getting all this different shit, right? What I don't want them to do is what they did with Thor Ragnarok, where they say, hey, remember how we teased that, you know, Guardians of the Galaxy was going to be in this movie? The same way we teased that Loki was going to be in this movie? Well, they're in this throughout the entire fucking movie, just like Loki was in Ragnarok. And to me, that's the icing on top of the cake of this being a terrible fucking movie. The jokes, to me, the jokes are bad. And I'm not saying they're terrible. I'm not saying these are the worst jokes in the world. No, I'm not saying that. But for a movie that I was expecting after seeing the last two, because again, I can compare this to the rest of the MCU, and it still be, to me, a shitty movie and a shitty storyline to tell. Of all the storylines you could tell with Thor, you're going to tell this one, and you're going to pick the one director to fuck it up. To me, that's terrible. That's a terrible fucking decision. And this movie was a terrible fucking decision. The storyline to me was terrible. And on paper, it may sound good on paper. It may sound good on paper. But the way they did it, the storyline they just threw out there and said, hey, here's Hela, here's his sister, we never talked. It's like fucking Fast and Furious, what? 9 or 10, whichever one's coming out, where, all of a sudden, what's his name's fucking character? Vin Diesel's character has a brother. And I mean, obviously, you know, we know that Hela is, you know, in the comics and stuff, like Hela is not just some made up character. We know that. But the fact that you're giving us this storyline at this point, and then you're making Odin's death not really a thing, like you're not stopping, you're not pausing at all for Odin's death, and then you're having Loki in this position, leading up to Odin's death, and then after his death, you're keeping him in a fucking movie, so that we can lead to what? And like even Smith admitted, you didn't need to put Loki so long into this movie just to get the Tesseract. You know what I mean? Like, you just didn't. That could have easily been a post-credit scene or you know, some other post-credit scene of another movie. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't know. But this movie to me just could not fucking do it for me. I'm sitting there, dude, and I don't do this. There's only 2 movies where I sat here. Actually, no, sorry. 3 MCU movies where I sat here and I'm sitting here like this. I'm sorry, camera. I'm sitting here like this, like, damn. I really wish this movie was over now. And I'm only 20 minutes into this fucking thing. Like, there's only 3 movies that did that for me. It was this, Captain Marvel, and Ant-Man 2. Like, those 3 movies, I'm just sitting there like, why the fuck is this a thing? Like, why the fuck did they choose this storyline, this director to show us the? And again, like you guys said, I will agree with you guys on the picture part, right? You know, the visuals with the planet they were on, because again, I like that. I like the visual part they added to this movie. And to me, to be honest, besides the Incredible Hulk and you know, besides Hulk being Hulk in this movie, even for a brief amount of time, and like you said, I think either you, Smith, or Mark, one of you guys said not too long ago about that dialogue between him and Thor in that red room, or in that you know, red white room. And Thor is actually like a grown ass fucking child. Like, that's not Thor, Hulk. Hulk's like a grown ass child. Like, that's Hulk. That's Hulk. You know what I mean? That's who that is supposed to be. You know, he's still vicious and still can be mean and still this fucking monster and, you know, Titan. But you know what? At the end of the day, you know, Hulk still has this, you know, mentality that, like, he's still fresh and new to all of this, you know? Like, I love the fact that Taika Waititi put that in this movie. But between that, you know, but aside from that and the visuals throughout this movie and the first 30 seconds of being introduced to Hela, this movie was a pile of dog shit. A complete pile of dog shit. But
Harsh.
again, I want to ask you guys, because I really do. I want to know, what were you two guys' favorite parts of this movie? Like if you had to pick a favorite part of this movie, what would it be? And Smith, I'll start with you.
I guess all the dialogue with Korg, or the rock guy. It's Korg. Korg, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the best part of the movie right there. Best character. I mean, he probably, if he wasn't in the movie, it wouldn't be as good. And I would watch a movie just about him.
Smith, you're one of those people, man. Give me a Korg movie. I will say this about Korg. He reminds me. See, you know, I sometimes I'll get stoned and watch this show called The Big Les Show on YouTube, and they sound just like Taika Waititi when he voices Korg. So every time I hear Korg talk, I go back to this, like, you know, stoner show called The Big Les. This Australian show called The Big Les Show. It always brings me back to it. So that's the only reason why I like Korg, because he just brings me back to, like, this show that I love. But Mark, what about you? What was your favorite part of this movie?
Well, that's kind of complicated because, you know, I was thinking,
There's
you know,
too many.
while you were talking. Well, yeah, I mean, what I see in there is something of a contrast, right? Because there is definitely a lot going on in this film, you know, like my argument for the Thor Loki arc. Yeah, and then we have Odin, dying, passing away or whatever, because that's what it looked like. It looked like he just passed away, if ever that term was appropriate. And then they've got Valkyrie and then Hela and then Asgard and then Scourge. Yeah, a lot going on there. But I guess if there's one pin to hang it on, it would just be a story of Asgard. So I think that's why this is really appropriate as a Thor film, as just a one, character film. It's not an Avengers film. Yeah, Hulk is there. That's a little team up aspect of it and everything too. But I think that brings it together in the sense of, this sort of where Thor is kind of, he's the god of thunder, but like it looks like the scriptwriters and Waititi just kind of wanted to humanize him a little, where he did a little bit of help from his friends, and he gets this ragtag motley crew of characters to get him going, because I mean, yeah, and right. I mean, I think you make some good points. I don't know if we agree in the same way, but with the Hulk's presence, Hulk being old school Hulk in that, and then Mark Ruffalo, his disorientation and all of these things. So yeah, and and I'll admit, when I walked out of the movie theater on this one, I was really happy. I was entertained. Yeah, and yeah, a lot of it was the humor, but I just thought it was paced well. I thought that the humor didn't take away from the stakes, and the stakes didn't take away from the humor in that respect. So, and this doesn't necessarily mean what makes it a good movie, but I think there was a lot of balance in there, so where things could be. Well, yeah, I'll have to be with Smith. I fell in love with Korg. He was funny, clever. I liked his attitude. Like, yeah, I'm pretty much the leader here. Just his kind of lackadaisical attitude and everything. Oh gosh, well, who was it? Was he the one that was complaining about how all the blood and guts were on the weapons and nobody could, nobody could. Yeah. So yeah, just things like that. So yeah, it's and then now in this last viewing, I did it after I watched Jojo Rabbit, and here we have a film, I think it was the screenplay and direction was by Taika Waititi, and then he acted. He was, one of the main characters in the film is Hitler, for crying out loud, and he turns Hitler into this oddly likable character because, well, he's an imaginary friend. But seeing Taika Waititi act in this role and what he was doing, things like that, and then when he's acting as Korg and things like that, like, yeah, that's very much. I mean, it just shows what he can do as an auteur, because Marvel and Disney, they've been doing this. Was it James Gunn that did Guardians of the Galaxy? I probably should know that. Yeah, okay. Yep. So he's an auteur and things like this. So they're establishing this in their films. I mean, a lot of this is decisions made by committee, but they're allowing individual directors, love or hate them, get their stink on them. So they're making that part of the whole, because after all, you look at Fast and the Furious, that's a franchise, but it's a linear one. They've only gone off to one kind of spin-off in that one, what is it, Dwayne Johnson and Jason Statham spin-off or whatever. Yeah. But clearly, I mean, they got to what, like the 8th, 9th movie before they did that. Marvel's been pretty much, I mean, they just finished phase 3 and they're coming into phase 4, and yeah, it's not linear. It's spread out. So and with this one particular film, I don't know. I think it justifies. It's like, well, why do we even give Thor his own particular arc at all in his own individual films? And I think this come and brings it together with him, and then we get to see Asgard. We get to see Asgardians like. Like Scourge and things like that. What are these people like? Because in the comics, I never really saw much of that. It was always just Thor, and Asgard was kind of an afterthought. So I don't know. That kind of pulled me in.
So I want to know with this movie, because I've already aired at least majority of my grievances with this movie, and at least the important ones. If you guys could improve something with this movie, what would it be? And Mark, I'll start with you.
Maybe a little bit of something, and we already spoke about this, so this shouldn't be a surprise. Something a little bit more with Loki, something to strengthen that arc. But this is an opinion only coming from the privilege of 2020 hindsight, where, right now we're to presume that that Loki ends in Infinity War, and that perhaps the series or whatever is just a prequel. So
no, the series is from the Loki from Endgame. He's from the Loki. Remember the Loki from Endgame from the other universe when they went back in time and he took the Tesseract again?
Right. Yeah, but I mean, right? That was Endgame when he had the binds on his hands and his mouth, and then he kicked the Tesseract. Okay. But he was killed.
So
right?
that one's going to be the series one.
Oh, okay. All right, man. Maybe now I'm getting all confused. So,
I know, right? I know, right?
Yeah.
That's that continuity of MCU, right?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see too. It's like, because everything they're going to be doing with Loki, even from this film onward, it's like it will always call into question as to what his role really was in this movie. Because I mean, after all, I think, the whole movie was about Asgard itself and him being a major player in Asgard. It's sort of like going to strengthen that a little bit more in some regard. I don't know exactly how. I don't know, but I just think that, especially after this video, that yeah, I think that might have helped. But his presence there, I didn't think was unnecessary. At the very least, and it's not the only reason for just Tom Hiddleston's performance and the banter and the dialogue and things like that. I just really enjoyed it.
Smith, what about you?
Well, like you were saying, you watching a film and you end up going like this, waiting for it to be over. The only time I felt like this during that film, which is a point Mark brought up, it was very well paced. There's not a lot in this film where you're sitting there like, all right, let's get on with it, except when Hela is on screen, outside of that first scene when you meet her. So I don't know. I don't have a suggestion. I'm not I'm not a director, but they definitely should have done something with her. It was just so bland.
But what made you yawn when she was on screen, though?
Just all she did, like you're saying, there wasn't much action with her. It was just dialogue with Scourge, and I guess she brought back her woof, which was kind of a cool scene, but most of it was just, I don't know. I just wanted to get back to Sicard, like everything. Really didn't matter what she was doing.
I'll say this about that scene, that last scene with that battle scene, right? Hulk. They wasted Hulk, obviously fighting that wolf. In the end, pretty much fall into the water, and then he just comes out of nowhere. You know what I mean? That whole scene to me is just super fucking weird. I'm trying to think of some positives about this movie, man. I really can't, man. I fucking hate this movie. I fucking hate this movie, man. Because the two parts that I told you guys about, that Hela scene and then Hulk and then the visuals, that's it, man. That's fucking it, man. To me, this is I kept trying to convince myself to like this movie last night when I watched this. I really was. I was like, man, I should not be so hard on it. I just need to sit back, watch it, focus, just let the movie go and just try and enjoy it. And I sat back and I tried. I fucking tried, man. And this movie was ass. It really was. But if there's one good thing this movie did for me, was for the next Thor movie, my expectations are not high at all. So I may walk into Thor: Love and Thunder, and that movie may be shit, and I'll be like, it was good. I wouldn't be like I loved it if it was shit, but I'd probably be like, it was good, just because I'm now expecting to see Thor run around and just, I don't know, run around and make best friends with deer and shit. Like, I'm Thor, Love and Thunder. Oh, you know what I mean? We know that we're getting Jane back in this one, and she's becoming Lady Thor, right? Some of Thor's old buddies are coming back in this movie too. We also got. I'm sure we're not getting rid of a Korg, and why would we? I like the Korg character. At least what Taika Waititi has done with this character. That's pretty cool. I like that. I still don't think he's supposed to be important enough to just continue on this journey, because that kind of dwindles Thor's seriousness down. Because I still believe that you can be this serious character but still have that funny aspect to your character. You know what I mean? I don't want Thor to be this fucking walking comedian. I just don't. But again, that's my own expectation. You know what I mean?
Do you think he ended that way? I mean, that's the thing. I thought the comedy was a way to sort of, bring him down to, like for him to hit rock bottom, to be able. I mean, that's what all these movies do. There's always a point in the movie where the characters, like they reach a peak and then something pulls the rug out from under them, and yet, so I don't know. But you think by the end, was he still a joke?
Yes.
Okay.
But to me, but that's the problem, is that he was still a joke to me in the end. And I didn't want him to be that. I was hoping, and even after watching it, even while I was watching this movie last night, I was thinking to myself, I was like, because I only saw this movie, I think maybe once, and that was in theaters before watching it last night. So my memory was not too fresh on how this movie ended. until I watched it, a second time last night. And I'm sitting there watching this movie, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe in the end, I might feel Thor a little bit. But it's like the first 2 minutes of Infinity War, where we got all three of these dudes. We got Thor, we got Loki, we got Hulk in the first 2 minutes of Infinity War. And they did more with that movie in the first 2 minutes with these characters than they did for the entire 2 hours of Ragnarok. That's where I have my issue at. But to play devil's advocate on myself, that's probably because Thanos had a big part to do with that. Just saying. But look, man, I can't say a positive thing about this fucking movie. Shout out to Tristan Cobra, by the way. He says, let's call ourselves the Revengers. Clever. That was a clever line. That was a clever thing. I'll admit, I like that. I like that line that they put in that movie. It wasn't laugh out loud funny to me. I wasn't, you know what I mean? I wasn't like, oh my God, that, you know what I mean? But it was funny. You know what I mean? It was funny. But yeah, shout out to Tristan Cobra. You're a real one, man. But look, man, now it comes down to me asking you guys the tough question, right? What grade would you guys give Thor Ragnarok? The highs, the lows, the beginning, the end. What do you guys give the final grade of Thor Ragnarok? And Smith, I'll start out with you.
All right. Probably a B+. And that's close. That's a close B+ to an A. We're talking like an 89% here. And my main problem with it, which I've already said, is just a boring character in general. And then the way they brought her into, it's like, oh, by the way, you have a sister that no one told you about. Like, how many times do we have to do that?
Oh wow, yeah.
That's that's a great, not even just superhero. What's the word for it, Mark? Trope, right? Is trope the word for it? That's another trope, and that's when I talked about earlier, right? Where it's like, oh, surprise, you have a brother. It's like, dude, Vin Diesel's character in Fast and the Furious has been a part of our lives for almost 20 fucking years. Not one mention of a brother. And now we're here in 2020. Paul Walker has died, and you still haven't said a damn word about your brother. Now in 2021, you want to say, oh, Dominique has a brother now. And it's like, bro, what the fuck have you guys been feeding us and telling us for the past 20 years? They're just as bad as the fucking government. Now, Mark, I want to go over to you. What was your grade of Thor Ragnarok?
Well, I don't know. Just defend a little. I don't want to sidetrack too much, but it's a very, because all right, with Hela, they didn't know they had a sister, so and,
sure.
and yeah, I mean with Dom, I don't know. I don't know if that's. I think I the last Fast and Furious movie I saw was 5, right? And yeah, but I don't know, because that's kind of like I don't know, TV action show thing, and whatever. It's like when a series is getting stale, and you got to be like, oh, what do? We got to introduce a new character, right? Like introduce Cousin Oliver, brother. Yeah, something like the evil twin, or Cousin Oliver and Brady Bunch. That's I think that's the name of the trope. So things like this. So yeah. But and yes, I would also like to say that I'm with you on no Hela movie. One and done with her. That's fine. I mean, she was enough, I think, to make her a big threat. But at the same time, I don't think this movie was even really about the big threat. I mean, it was about Ragnarok, but it was more about, oh, okay, well, Ragnarok is a little bit deeper than that. It's a little deeper than just another villain you have to defeat. So it's kind of, because let's face it, they kind of had the Empire Strikes Back ending where they kind of they're all together and they're like, yeah, we're Asgard together, but they kind of have their tails between their legs, because it's kind of like, where the fuck do we go now? And some people might complain like, oh, he kind of ended on a cliffhanger, but it's like, Will Empire Strikes Back is regarded as the best Star Wars movie ever, and that's like, where do you go from there on that one? So, but I don't know. That's but that doesn't necessarily make or break things for me. But wow, I'll admit the bar for Marvel movies. For me, is a little weird. I just kind of, when I consider Marvel movies, because it's such a spread franchise and things like it. For me, my A pluses go to Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and Volume 2. So, but those are the highest grades I will give the Marvel movies. Those are my favorites, hand down, at least, up until this point. I've seen all the films. So I'd have to give Thor Ragnarok an A. An A, because it entertained me almost as much as Guardians of the Galaxy, but goddamn, Guardians of the Galaxy just wins. I mean, I watched it again the other night with my roommate and his girlfriend, and just, oh man, I'm like, I never get tired of that movie.
I will say, Guardians of the Galaxy, going into the second one, I was kind of cautious, and I shouldn't have been, because I loved the first one. But man, that second one was even better. So I kind of agree with you. A plus, we'll probably get to that somewhere down the line, but I might dispute that. I don't want to say that. I don't want to say A plus too much, but for now, I agree with you with the A plus for Guardians of the Galaxy. Well, I'm sure you guys know my grade. This is going to be a half-ass record, but I give this movie a big fat fucking
goodness. F. What was this whole show
I give this
about?
movie a big fat fucking F. This was a horrible experience for me. I am traumatized for the rest of my life for watching this stupid shit.
There's no character development with Warren in this episode.
The one character that they decided to somewhat develop, they decided to somewhat butcher and make them look weak in the end. So, to me, this movie gets a big fat F. Again, no disrespect to Taika Waititi, but slight disrespect, low-key disrespect to Taika Waititi and the gang. But, ladies and gentlemen, this was our review of Thor Ragnarok. And as you can tell from this review, with my opinion of this movie, I am so looking forward to the 4th installment of Thor. But as you all know, we've got a lot of shit going on over here on Half-Ass Pod, guys. A lot of stuff in the works as well. So it's gonna be a very, very eventful summer and active summer here on this channel. So make sure you guys hit that like, subscribe, keep supporting the channel. Smith, do you have anything you left to say to the people about Thor Ragnarok, or hell, even about Hap?
Well, you mentioned earlier that you thought the second Guardians of the Galaxy was the best one. So it just goes to show you have poor taste. Your grade does not reflect this movie. But yeah, that's it.
Wait. So to be clear, you didn't like Guardians of the Galaxy 2?
I did, but the first one was better, definitely.
Oh man. I think we just have to review the entire fucking MCU at this point. But
I think it'll work.
But and again, before I forget to say this, man, make sure you guys say in the comments too. Welcome back to Smith as well, man. Smith's been out for a little bit. It's always great to have Smith back on here, man. Yeah. It's awesome, man. It feels great. We've got the gang back together, man. Mark, where can people find you? And do you have anything else to say about Thor Ragnarok?
I do have to say that I just dunked on you for no character development, but I guess I'm in the same place. Like, I went into this liking the film, and not much change. If any, maybe my development is, at least in my mind, I was able to figure out why I liked it more. But yeah. With that, I will say, please check me out on the major social media outlets. Facebook, which kind of sucks, but hey, pretty trendy to bag on them these days, right? Instagram and Twitter. All right, yeah, you can find me there as Mark Plaid. And see right there, that's my name. For some reason, people think it's pronounced played. Like, that's the word. Look it up in the dictionary. The pattern. But anyways, okay. So Mark Plaid, Schpidau, Schpidau. That was a word I made up because it came to me in a dream. And the Walter Paisley Cafe, which is a website in and of itself, the WalterPaisleyCafe.com, where I review movies, television, a record, hopefully some toy articles about toys. I do all kinds of stuff, pop culture, from the highest highbrow to the lowest low. Thank you.
Dude, I fucking love you, Mark. I just want to say that. All right, guys. Well, as you all know, this was Thor Ragnarok review. This is Half-Ass Pod. I am me. This is Smith. This is Mark Plaid. We're Half-Ass Pod. And we are OU.